Good evening and welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Monday, December 18th, 2023. We'll start the meeting at 6:07. Can I get a roll call, please, Beth?
Select Chair, Mr. Coy.
Here?
Select Vice Chair, Mr. DeRoche.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. Britton.
Here.
Selectman, Mr. Gifford.
Here.
Selectwoman, Ms. Bergeron. Here. And please note for the record, Town Manager, Mr. Colby is with us.
We all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, is there anyone here for public comment? Come on up, Brian.
I'd rather not be here in warmer weather. But this prime wetlands debacle is not legal in my opinion, according to 670 RSA 675(3).
Sir, could you do me a favor and just shut your flashlight off?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Trying to be safe on the way up here, I forgot. Just a second. 675(3), method of enactment in certain towns and village districts. No zoning ordinance, historic district ordinance, or building code shall be established or amended at town or village district meeting until after the planning board holds at least one public hearing on the proposed ordinance code amendment. Planning board didn't hold a hearing. The Conservation Commission held a hearing, and it's a zoning issue. Therefore, the planning board needs to hold the hearing, not the Conservation Commission. In my opinion, this whole thing needs to be dropped for this year and hopefully forever. But at least for this year, the rules haven't been followed and it should be dropped. I would also ask the board to, given the ridiculous increases in taxes over the last several years, even more so in this year, drop every warrant article that has money attached to it and/or property rights infringement, and punt till another time. And the money that is going to be used with no new taxation should be used to pay down the overtaxation. That money was overtaxation from last year and should be put toward property taxes. I know we're going to be talking more about the warrant articles later. I look forward to that discussion. The last thing I think I have is not saying I'm for or against an ambulance service, but I do not believe it should be just thrown into the budget. It should be put to vote, and it should be a warrant article, not just forced down through budgeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. All right, we'll move on to the agenda. The first item's been postponed, so we'll start with the Conflict of Interest Committee, presentation of a warrant article.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So my name is Matt Termini. I'm the current chair of the town's Conflict of Interest Committee. I'm here on behalf of the committee to just discuss the submission that was sent in with the request to be on the agenda. The committee's been working over the past couple of months on proposed revision to the ordinance, specifically language in the section on the membership terms. But before going into it further, I just wanted to make comment, the copy that I sent included not only proposed revisions, but some additional language that we captured that through some further investigations, some conversations with the New Hampshire Municipal Association and the town's clerk office, that there are two subsections to that membership section that no longer appear in the town ordinance, but they weren't voted on in the amendment in 2020. So it's our opinion that those subsections just need to be reinstated in the copy that's provided to elected officials and to committee and board members. It doesn't necessarily need to be attached to a warrant article. Specifically, going back to the original ordinance, it would have been under, at the time, it was Section I, Election of Conflict of Interest Committee, subsections C and D, excuse me, were not included on warrant article P-20-21 and therefore weren't voted on. It appears to us that they may just not have been passed through into what is currently on the books for the ordinance.
So for red is what you wanted to add, right?
Correct, but it should be noted that the sections, the subsections that I'm referencing that would have been former C and D are included on the revisions I submitted to the board as subsections D and E. Again, through investigation, we believe that those subsections should be included on the current ordinance because they were never voted on at the town election.
Questions?
Want to read them just for the record, I guess?
The other changes to be
What
made?
your changes are?
So there are changes that we're proposing, but pertinent to the language that we believe should still be in the ordinance, and it may just be a clerical change in what's provided to the clerk's office to provide to individuals. Would you like me to read that original language, or would you prefer to just talk about the revisions that are proposed?
Just the
The revisions proposed.
revisions.
Certainly. So that would be subsection B. Currently states, members of the Conflict of Interest Committee shall consist of private citizens residing in the town and not employed by the town. We would propose to strike the word "or" and continue in a contractual agreement with the town, comma, and add "or a member of another town committee or board." And then with subsection C, we would like to add the language, a town citizen shall not serve on the Conflict of Interest Committee if they have a family member who is currently serving on a town committee or board. We would recommend striking, family members serving on town committee or boards does not preclude a town citizen from being elected and serving on the Conflict of Interest Committee. And the language would remain as follows, members of the Conflict of Interest will recuse themselves when a petition is filed involving a family member. For the language that I sent, subsections D and E, unless there is a grammatical error, should be what I referenced earlier, which was section C and D in the original ordinance. D, should a vacancy in the committee arise, the remaining members of the Conflict of Interest Committee will elect a town citizen to serve out the remainder of the term year. At the following annual town election, a member at large will be elected to serve out the remainder of the term. And then subsection E, the Conflict of Interest Committee shall establish, maintain, and update it as needed its bylaws.
I just have a comment, if I could.
Yeah, go ahead.
C, a citizen shall not serve on a conflict committee if is a family member who currently serving on a town board. There, I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, this town isn't overflowing with volunteers to begin with. And to preclude somebody because they may be serving on, I don't know, the Conservation Commission, a husband serving on the wife can't take and then be on the Conflict of Interest Committee. I think that's, personally, I think it's pretty harsh.
Respectfully, and speaking on behalf of the committee, we've discussed this at length. The committee feels strongly that the purpose of the Conflict of Interest Committee is to operate with objectivity, and that a relationship as a family member, as defined in the ordinance, or as a member of the household, makes that objectivity difficult. The language that was amended in 2020 speaks to having family members recuse themselves in conflict of interest matters. However, we still remain concerned that in a situation where there is a family member involved, that doesn't alleviate the concern for any back channel discussions or anything that doesn't happen outside of official business that could taint the Conflict of Interest Committee and its proceedings if a petition is filed. I understand in prior conversations that participation with local offices has been a challenge and a concern. But I would note that in the prior cycle, the Conflict of Interest Committee was fully seated with 5 members. And unfortunately, we are only currently seated with 4 members, but the only reason we have not filled that with a 5th member, we had a party who would be willing to, if we had appointed them, to sit on the board. Unfortunately, when we looked at the current ordinance, one of those subsections that appears to have been removed from the ordinance in error pertained to the committee's ability to govern itself to fill that seat. So we've been hesitant to use that power with it not being in the ordinance. I would argue for at least the past 2 years, we'd have.
How
sent a full
deep
board.
do you do that? I mean, is it second cousins, aunts, uncles? I mean, how deep do you go? Do you follow a family tree back 150 years, or what do you do?
So under section 4 of definitions, there's a definition for family members.
Next page.
Okay?
Yep, which includes spouse, children, stepchildren, grandchildren, parents, step-parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, stepbrothers, stepsisters, all existing language in the ordinance. The committee would recommend revising it to also include uncles, aunts, and cousins, and then it continues with the existing ordinance language, which is nephews, nieces, father-in-law, mother-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, or any member of the official's household.
I can definitely see it with an elected position, right?
Yeah.
You know, an
I
elected.
can too, but, you know,
An elected position, I think where it gets tough is say you have, even just say like recreation, that's all volunteers. That's one where it gets tough, but definitely elected, I can definitely see that.
This is only for someone who wants to be on the conflict of
Oh, this is only
interest.
for conflict
Right.
of interest, right?
So,
So they can, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah.
kind of almost like what they think they had before, right?
I think it's harsh, but that's just my opinion.
I mean, that's why it can always be revisited if you had to, right?
I mean, if somebody's on non-elected, then it doesn't matter. If somebody's on the ZBA, for instance, that's not elected.
Right.
It doesn't matter,
Yeah,
you know?
I really don't have much of an issue with it, that's me. Does everyone else feel?
Except the verbiage it shows. It reads, I'm totally unbiased that way, and that's what they wanted out of this. I mean, if you start bringing in family or relatives involved, it's
Well,
always
that's-
a slight bias.
Yeah, that's the whole thing of having a conflict of interest.
Right, yeah, they're
So-
removed.
If I may add, one of the things we were concerned about as well was if this language continues, that it may preclude somebody from filing a conflict of interest because they believe if there is a connection, that it's not going to be, weighed on its merits as well. Never mind the potential for crosstalk, back channel, and the like.
How many conflicts have you had in the last couple of years?
We have had 8 petitions filed.
How many have you had in the last 10 years?
To the best of my knowledge, I believe there was a petition filed, but after it was reviewed, it was decided that it was not a viable petition for a conflict that the committee had the authority to investigate.
Okay.
That was probably a few years back.
It may have been longer.
I'm fine with the language. Do we have like a draft of the warrant article, or do we need to put that together?
We don't have draft.
So would the warrant article just include just the sections that we're updating, or does it include the whole ordinance?
It might include the whole ordinance. I'd have to go back to the prior one.
It's a lot of pages.
The prior one is only the sections that were changed. I'm looking at it right
So
now.
that's all we have to do?
Good.
We can have that ready for the next meeting?
Sure.
We can do that.
All right, anyone else? Like, we're good.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Yep,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much for coming in.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, next up, fire department update. I see the chief here.
That's some very good news.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear.
Good news or bad news? I brought good news.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everyone will be happy.
Thank you for letting me come to give you some preemption on some unofficial good news that's coming to the town and our taxpayers. I do know they work very hard for us, supporting our budget, and we constantly work hard for them, trying to find means of funding outside taxation. One of those means was the end of this last summer, Town Manager Colby sent me an email from the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, and it was titled Granite State Cleanup Fleets. And I was like, what's this all about? And so I read a little bit about it. It was a funding opportunity, a competitive funding opportunity that I took some interest in, signed up, went through the webinar with them, and quickly learned that we might have an opportunity to get funding to replace one of our fire engines. So wrote up the proposal at the end of summer, turned it in October. This funding comes from, in 2016, Volkswagen was found to be guilty with violating a Clean Air Act. And in 2017, they settled with the Department of Justice on a $15 billion settlement. That money was distributed amongst the different states to use to do different things. Part of that money was allocated in the state of New Hampshire for clean energy, if you will, kind of summarizing. So this allotment in New Hampshire for this year was $10 million. So you could write a proposal to replace a vehicle, something in your fleet. It had to meet a lot of parameters. This is, I can't stress enough how competitive this was. And our fire engine that's due to be replaced in a couple of years from now met those parameters. So wrote a strong proposal, leveraged everything I could from our town and what our town's been through, including the BD site, because that was part of the grant guidance, as if we were negatively impacted from environmental issues in the past. So I leveraged everything I could to try to win us some money, if you will. And I got notified a couple weeks ago that we're in the final stages of being approved, which necessarily means that the governor has to sign it.
Nice.
So what does that mean? Is our 2003 fire engine that's, like I said, scheduled to be replaced soon, will be mostly funded through this proposal. So out of, let me find a page here that's got the dollar amount so I don't tell you wrong. So you're looking at a $1,187,477 project. The state of New Hampshire has awarded us $949,981.
Nice.
Almost $1 million of that is going to be alleviated from our taxpayers.
Nice.
That leaves us, the partial that leaves us is $237,495 for a brand new fire engine.
Wow.
As opposed to 1.2 million, right?
Opposed to 1.2 million. So I wish we could. I do work, this is not the first grant that we've gotten up here. I meant to add it all up, but we're probably, with this grant, we're probably up to, in the last 4 years, I've probably brought in about $1.4 million.
Yeah, I know it's quite a bit.
So I know people ask a lot, what do we do to reduce the budget? I can't reduce our budget and provide the same services we provide today. If I cut my budget, you're getting services cut. Our budget don't have any room to cut.
That's terrific, though. I mean,
But
that's just a
That's,
terrific.
that's a big win, right?
Yeah.
So it really
That's
is.
it. You know something? You take Monday off.
Thanks. Appreciate that. You have any presents for me? I brought you a present. So we got to work through some paperwork. The next thing they'll be giving me is an official contract. Obviously, I have to bring it back for you all to accept that at a public hearing. And then I'll go back to them for the governor to sign it.
Any idea when you expect to see that? I know you got the holiday upon us.
I talked to her today because I was worried about the performance period, because I'm used to federal FEMA money.
Right.
And they have strict guidelines. Well, this will let the taxpayers know buying a fire engine is not like what it used to be. What used to be about a 9-month delivery time, you're looking at 40 months.
Wow.
So you're talking 3.5.
So, yeah, so even though we're getting this money and we're gonna be able to replace the fire, it helps us drastically, because we didn't have this money to order a fire engine this next year, and we really need to get it ordered next year
Yep.
to get it replaced when it needs to be replaced. So that solved that problem for us,
So-
without having to ask a lot of money from the taxpayers.
So once we get that, we have money in CIP already
Yes.
that can be used for the difference.
That's terrific.
So,
So we have, with that grant and the CIP, we have a fully funded engine
Right.
replacement.
so, and like I said, that's, teamwork. I didn't know this existed, because it's not really within our realm of typical fire grants that we see. So the town manager was paying attention, and you sent it to me to see if there was any beneficial opportunities, and here we go. We got almost $1 million.
And that should help with
So-
the warrant articles this year too.
So I hope so. And the trust in that, and the trust in the ambulance issue, that I know that's big on people's mind, but there's really only one solution to this problem.
Nice.
And I hope if they have questions, they would come talk to me about it.
Yep.
So I also got some other good news this week as well. Not as big, but we've been awarded hazard mitigation assistance fund to redo our hazard mitigation plan as well. So that's not huge money. It's only about $11,000.
That's better than.
Nothing to
But
turn your
better
nose
than
up
nothing.
at.
Better than
So
zero.
we do actively seek other funds besides asking for the taxpayers, and I'm very respectful with that. And again, tying us back in with the ambulance. I know people have questions. Please come talk to me.
Well,
Don't make comments on Facebook without coming to talk to me, because you got to understand the problem.
Right, and we, I've been at them, so we have one more of those ambulance.
Yes. And I'm hoping to have a full house, because I know there's a lot of people that's commented that they're wanting to come see it. So
Yeah, and that's
I
in
expect this-
January.
hopefully to put out more chairs this time.
When's the
Many-
next one?
Yeah.
January, I want to say like around the 16th or something like that. So I know it's at the library, and we have it at 6:00.
Yeah.
We'll put it back out there.
And I'm willing to do more. I mean, if people reach out and say, I can't make it on that day, could
Yeah.
you do it? I'll make another day.
Yeah.
But the people, make an effort to come learn what the issue is before saying we don't need it.
Hmm.
We don't really have a
Right, we got to do something.
So
Yeah, he's right. We don't have we're either paying a for-profit vendor, or we're going to do it ourselves. Yeah, he is exactly right. They don't have a choice. They're either paying a for-profit tax or company, or us do it.
Chief, I have a question. What are you going to do with the 11,000 that was awarded?
So that's the rewrite plan. It needs to be authored every so many years. But
That's good luck. We look forward to having the contract come in for us.
hopefully I have that soon. So yes, hopefully in January it'll come back
Yeah,
around.
perfect. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah.
How's the job search going?
Fantastic,
Excellent.
fantastic. So
To hear that.
we just honestly finished up the last steps. So with background checks, criminal history, and physicals.
How many of the open houses have you had?
We've had two.
Two.
Two? And what has been the, attendance on those?
The first one had
Honestly,
6,
6, and the last one had like 3.
3.
So it's been poor, which is a shame. Because
Right.
the chief goes over everything, why we got there, why we had it, this decision had to come, RFPs that were sent out.
Where are we posting this so people could see it? Is it on,
It's on Facebook,
yeah,
Facebook, it's been on the town.
town page.
have we had it out here on the sign too?
I
Out
don't
front?
know. We could post it out
Okay.
there.
Be
Posted,
posted
yeah.
out there?
Yeah.
Okay. Try to get it out there.
original interview that.
Yeah, that's-
Which was.
Yeah, the video, and that answers a lot of it, but I want it to be personal. So that's why we're doing it. If you have personal issues or questions, let us talk through it, because you're either paying a for-profit company to do it, or you're going to let us do it for less money.
Yeah, the presentation was
Yeah.
good, but there's no questions. You weren't able to ask questions. This way, yeah, you can come
On
in and
the
you can
TV.
ask questions, right?
Right.
So you can ask the questions. And like she said, his door's open, you can come down and ask questions. And if we get good attendance and another one, we'll do another one.
Yeah, I'll be glad to do. Like I said, I'm in it for the community. And I think you see this even like with these grants. You know, I could have easily ignored that and say, you know what, I don't want to spend a bunch of time writing for a grant, but that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do. I want to do the right thing for this community.
And I think that the TV one was a good preliminary
Sure, yeah.
for you guys. It really was. By the way, the camera does add 10 pounds.
So what are you trying to say? Somebody was coming there trying to coax me back into the water?
Well, great job on that grant. That's
Very good.
unbelievable.
Great, I mean, you've done a
Really is
great job
awesome.
with the grant since you've.
That is
come on
absolutely
board.
fabulous.
Grant deserves a.
Yeah. And thank you, Mr. Colby.
Yes, sir.
He's the one that started it, so.
You get Monday too.
Thanks. We looked at it for the highway too, when we were looking for the highway truck. And, you know, part of the grant is to take the old vehicle out of service. And if Dan wanted to be able to use that truck, you know, as the spare and extra that, you know, we will need. But, so that's when we passed it on over to the fire department, so.
Nice.
Not bad. So,
Not bad at all.
Perfect, it's nice when things work.
Thanks, chief.
thank you.
Thank you, chief. Have a good night.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
All right, on to the warrant articles. Just want to start right at the beginning, Greg? Obviously, we don't have the numbers for the operating budget because we haven't got that from the budget committee, right?
Right, the meeting tomorrow night, hopefully we'll finalize.
So that's them, so, and I would imagine the default isn't done yet either, right?
Correct.
And
And the default, we'll probably see that like on the 8th, January 8th.
Yes.
so the next meeting, we should have both, we'll have to finalize everything. So the next one would be the water department. Any numbers for that yet, or?
That
No, that's pretty much,
will be the $520,014. That's been finalized.
so what was the number again?
520014,
What is this one for?
The water department?
2403.
So we already approved that budget. So now we just need to make it official for the
Official,
warrant
right.
article.
So, yeah, we can vote on these tonight, we can discuss them.
We're on page,
Page 3,
Oh, okay. How much was it again?
520014. Generally, that's the public hearing, that would be deliberative, but if you got a quick question, if you could just come up even to this one here, it's just, so when the recording's out there,
How much of the water budget is paid for by non-customers of the system?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Non-what?
non-subscribers. to the
Subscribers.
system.
Oh, okay.
It's all paid from the scribes, correct? right?
$0 would be paid for by non-subscribers. It's paid for and funded 100% by users of the system.
Every aspect, retirement costs, or staffing,
Yes, sir.
all in?
Yes, sir.
Through the budget.
Yes, sir.
All right, so,
much of that is
Ryan, we can't keep.
subsidized?
Brian, you
All
got to
right,
get
Ryan,
to
we
the
can't go
mic.
back and forth. That's like a deliberative thing. I can give a quick question.
Quick question.
Yeah, but this is like your third or fourth one. I don't mean to be rude.
Oh, no, 2 questions.
I get that. But if we go back and forth, that's why we have deliberative. We go over this now. I don't mind, a question, but if it's gonna be like 10 questions on every warrant article, well, you call,
Do you want to read each one of these? So-
yeah.
Okay. I'll do the reading if you'd like.
Did, go right ahead.
We're all in it together.
Yep.
Operating budget, Water Department, Article P 2403, shall the town vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget for the Water Department, not including appropriations by special warrant article and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purpose set forth therein totaling $520,014. Should this article be defeated, the operating budget shall be $520,000, $520,014, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13 X and 10 and 11 to take up the issue of revised budget only, majority vote required. That's it. So at this point, we would take a vote to, someone needs to make a motion to recommend or not recommend.
Well, actually, everything's gonna be in the positive, right, so.
Yep.
Everybody wanna make that motion, discuss? then we
I'll
can
make a
discuss?
motion to recommend.
I'll second.
Jay, any further discussion?
I'll just say that this is only paid for by the subscribers of the water system. So
Should we
this-
put the article number, like when we do the motion?
Yes.
We should have the article number.
Probably should.
Right.
Some of them will change though. Or some of them may change.
Yeah.
True.
Then we'll revisit this one more time anyways. Greg, did you have anything to add to this one?
No, sir.
But, you know, the important note here is it's the subscribers are the ones that pay for this. If you're not on the system, you're not paying for it.
What was the amount last year? Did we have one?
494,090.
Okay. So the increase is obviously we have more subscribers using this. Okay.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, so that's 500. And the next one is the collective bargaining for the agreement. This is still being discussed, so there's no numbers or anything there for us to look at or to try to approve or not approve.
What's it look like for timing on that?
Hopefully within the next week or two. Obviously, it's got to be done by the 8th, right? It has to be. If it's not, then it goes to next year.
Right?
We have another bargaining scheduled for tomorrow, and we're hopeful to wrap it up tomorrow.
Oh, good. Good.
That, and the one after that, special town meeting for the defeated collective bargaining agreement. That'll go with the collective bargaining agreement for the police union above that. And then the next one, looking at the contingency fund, RSA 3198-A. So the town vote to establish a contingency fund for the current year for unanticipated expenses that may arise, and further to raise and appropriate the sum of $80,000 to be deposited into the fund. The sum to come from the general fund, unassigned fund balance. Any appropriation left in the fund at the end of the year will lapse to the general fund. Use of these funds will be pursuant to RSA 31:98-A and RSA 32:11. This is pretty much every year. How much did we spend out of this last year, Greg? You know?
For 2023, we will probably end up spending all of it.
So this is another zero taxation.
Right.
Yes, we're going to take the money from the unassigned fund balance and not ask the voters for 80,000
Yeah, it's the same. This has been done every year. Now, how many years now?
since we established it, I believe.
4 or 5.
I'll make a motion to recommend the contingency fund warrant article in the amount of 80,000.
I'll second it.
Second by Darrell. Any further discussion on it, questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's 500. The next one is recommendation from CIP, deposit to Highway Department Equipment Expendable Trust Fund. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $150,000 to be deposited into the previously established Highway Department Equipment Expendable Trust Fund? Total appropriation, $150,000. And this is to keep up with the money that the CIP, the purpose of it. So you pay little by little each year, so we won't get that one big expense all at once. I think that's what a lot of these warrant articles are gonna be this year.
Yeah, with this particular one, in the CIP, we actually have the 2012 F-550 for replacement in '24, and the pickup truck, 2013 F-350. Each truck, one truck is 180, the other truck is 75. So adding to this would help with those timely replacements, as well as keep money in the fund for the next expenditure in 2025.
You know, it's really the fiscally responsible way to do things. I mean, you'd hate to get hit all of a sudden, that one bill, all of a sudden we gotta replace a truck or two and
Yeah.
no money there.
Kiss of death.
So I'll make a motion to recommend the deposit to Highway Department Equipment Expendable Trust Fund for $150,000.
I'll second.
Second by Darrell. And the ones they're looking to replace is what, the dump truck and the pickup truck?
Yeah, it was the dump truck with sander and the pickup truck.
And one of them is a 2012 and the other's a 2013,
Yes, sorry.
just so we have that there.
Is there a
So-
reason why we're replacing them? Is it mileage,
A lot of it is
wear
the,
and tear?
we're spending more money on them than
Yeah,
they
'cause
were.
We've had them in the shop quite a bit.
Quite a bit, so you got the
Okay.
repairs start to outweigh it, and the serviceable life on it is 7 years, so, and we're actually getting 10, 11 years out of these.
Okay.
By the time they're retired, it's probably 24, so, yeah, it could be, 11 to 12 years old, these will be. That's, 5, 6 years past what they were originally figured out to be. I don't have that number right off the top of my head. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, abstained? 500. And the next one is another CIP, deposit to the Building Expendable Trust Fund. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $40,000 to be deposited into the previously established Building Expendable Trust Fund? Total appropriation, $40,000. Do you have anything to add to this one, Greg?
I know on this one in the CIP, it had work that was set or scheduled for, I believe, the old firehouse, the Historical Society building. Doing some work around the windows and painting outside.
And it's really for anything that comes up. I mean, we're replacing a septic system up in
Yeah,
the police department.
yeah, so it's really for any of the buildings,
Right.
roofing, things like that.
That's just what we had on the CIP for the scheduled.
You have to keep that in
Work.
there. Fortunately, some of these buildings are long in the tooth, so they need work just like your house.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second by Jonathan. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So 500. Next up is another CIP, deposit to the Library Capital Reserve Fund. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $55,000 to be deposited into the previously established Library Capital Reserve Fund, total appropriation $55,000. Now, I know the library's closing in on 25 years, right?
Yeah.
Which is
And we
hard to
have,
believe.
mechanical systems that really need to be replaced up there.
Well, I know the thing they're looking at there too, and what some of this money's been put away for is the roof,
Rooftop units
the roof itself, right?
and the roof.
Right. So that's really what this is, to put away for that. Once again, it's, so you don't get hit with that big bill all at once.
Right. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second by Jay. Any further discussion, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's 500. Next up's another CIP. Deposit to Energy Capital Reserve Fund. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be deposited into the previously established Energy Capital Reserve Fund? The balance, do we know what the balance is in the fund?
No, we do not. The trust fund company that manages the trust is having problems with their reporting software, and we don't have any reports that are recent.
What have we used some of that money for?
So the money that's gone into that CIP has gone towards conversion of the LED system, lights in town buildings. Studies to be done for, I don't know, maybe Tim, you have a little more insight, but other studies for conversion of LED lights, solar panels,
Streetlights.
streetlights, et cetera. So
Don't we already do the streetlights?
we already did the streetlights, yes.
Okay.
That's done. And I believe all of the town buildings, correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, have all converted to LED.
So,
Energy audit type stuff.
Is there any idea what future projects they're looking to do with this?
So I know at the last energy meeting, we'd done a site walk out at a solar farm on a landfill. So the energy committee is looking to recommend a project for a solar array out on the landfill and for the town. I don't know if some of these funds might be used in conjunction with that project if the board decides to move forward with that.
And what is that supposed to do?
So I don't want to speak out of turn, but I know the Energy Committee is going to be coming probably in January to talk about it. But basically, it's working with a third-party vendor, and they will lease the facility, the land, and put solar panels on there. And then we will either benefit by solar credits, energy being paid for from that the town will utilize from the solar array. There's a couple different ways to be compensated. So we wouldn't be putting up the money up front to build a solar array. We'd be leasing the land to a company that would put the array out there. So I know Tim from the Energy Committee is going to come in probably in January at some point to talk about that. And a lot of that, in conjunction with the community power too, we can also tie the community power that people will be getting, the aggregation from that community power into those solar panels as well. So it's a twofold benefit for the municipality and getting credits towards energy or paying for our utility needs. And also residents can also get the benefit of the electricity generated here in town.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
For a second? I guess just one question. If this is going towards the solar arrays, and if it's going to be leased, Do they need the money for that, or is there something
No,
else?
but
I'm trying to
the legal
understand.
aspect behind it, we're gonna have a ton of contracts that we're gonna
Gotcha.
have to go through.
Okay, so that's what
Lawyer
you have.
expenses are in there, and other
Yeah.
things that
Okay,
add up in the background, because we're gonna be doing a 20, 30-year lease on a piece of land here.
okay, no, I was just curious. Yeah. All right,
Yeah, so it'd be towards those type of expenses
okay.
for the project.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
500. Next is also another CIP, deposit to police vehicle capital reserve fund. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate $100,000 to be deposited into the previously established police vehicle capital reserve fund, total appropriation $100,000. Now, I know when this went before the CIP, the original dollar amount in there was $150,000, and we reduced it down to the $100,000, where we were able to take care of one of the police vehicles with the ARPA funds last year.
Absolutely.
You know,
We've
so,
been working on getting this into a cycle, and this just keeps that cycle going.
right, but by doing what we did with those available funds we had, instead of this being $150,000, it's
Oh, yeah.
$100,000.
And some of the time, it isn't a case of just replacing one vehicle. It's replacing more than one vehicle, and those aren't cheap.
No, they're not. There was a big increase. And last year, we bought the 23s, the new 23s as opposed to the new 24s. That was like a $15,000 difference just buying the 23s.
Yeah.
You know, still a new vehicle, so there's no sense spending that.
And then the other part of it too is, we try not to go well past 100,000 miles, because then you start to get into a lot of maintenance expenses, because, within the short period of time when we replace a vehicle, it gets used, like.
Well,
The police vehicles shouldn't be judged by mileage.
No.
They should be judged by hours.
Yeah.
We do judge by, so you can only assume how many hours are on those vehicles.
constantly running.
Right, and quite honestly, this is what we planned.
That's right.
We started structuring this out so that our officers have top of the line equipment when they're out there protecting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second by Jonathan. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
500. Next is another CIP for the Police Communication and Information Technology Capital Reserve Fund. Shall the town vote to establish a Police Communication and Information Technology Capital Reserve Fund under the provisions of RSA 35:1 for the purpose of providing funding for all dispatch consoles, computer servers, radios, radio tower transmitters/receivers, and all other hardware and software required for the police officers to safely and successfully do their jobs, and furthermore to fund all computer hardware and software necessary to log all police transactions involved with any and all police matters, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $39,600 to be placed in the fund. The sum to come from the unassigned fund balance, further to name the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend from said fund. Total appropriation, $39,600. Withdrawal from the general fund, unassigned fund balance, $39,600. Now, that kind of goes with the article right after that, right?
Yes.
Let me just read right through the next one, too. So this will also go with the next warrant article. They kind of go hand in hand. It's a CIP, discontinue the Police Department Communications Radio Dispatching System Capital Reserve Fund. Shall the town vote to discontinue the following capital reserve funds? Said funds and accumulated interest to date of withdrawal are to be transferred to the municipality's general fund. Police Department Communication Radio Dispatching System Capital Reserve Fund. Police Department Management Information Computer System Capital Reserve Fund. This article shall be null and void if the previous article fails. So basically, what it's doing is you discontinue this fund, and that money would move into the general fund. right? And then, so that money would then move into the previous warrant article. So it's just moving money really from one fund to the other fund.
Correct.
I think it's
that make
important to
sense?
note that the Police Communication and Information Technology Capital Reserve is no amount raised by taxation.
Right.
Right, because it's just to transfer from one fund to the other fund. You're dissolving one fund, setting
Right.
up a new one.
May I add a suggestion for consideration?
Sure.
Is changing police to public safety so that if
Well-
it's emergency management, if it's fire and police,
Yes,
because they're all part of this, we dispatch for
for everything.
everything.
It should be because it encompasses them all. I would
I
agree.
would like to be, if something happens, with, the fire trucks have the laptops in them and, I think we should change it to public safety communications.
I agree, I think that makes
Absolutely.
sense.
And then maybe within the language of the warrant article, we change
Well, instead of police officers to say, public safety,
first responders,
something
public
along those
safety.
lines. Yes.
officials. Yep. What do you think? First responders, public
I'd say
safety?
Public safety, right?
Yeah, I'd say public safety.
Because that takes everything, right? So you,
Emergency management would fall into it and everything else, yeah.
so you have the wording you want, Jay?
Well, there's also on the next line, it says police transactions, so obviously it would be for, all public safety.
Right, so all the
Transactions.
changes would have to be made all the way through.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve based on those changes we've just discussed.
Second.
Second by Jay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we should probably do the one below it too.
I'll make a motion to recommend discontinue the police department communication radio dispatching system capital reserve fund.
I'll second it.
By Tammy. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's 500. Next is a CIP. Deposit the fire department radio capital reserve fund previously established. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate $20,000 to be deposited into the previously established fire department capital reserve fund? Total appropriation, $20,000. Do we happen to know what the balance is in that one, Greg?
No. All the trust funds I don't have reports on those.
But we should have all those when we do it for the final time at the next meeting, right?
I would hope so.
In the meantime,
I'll let the trustee of trust funds know that.
Yeah. Because obviously, those are questions everyone's going to want to know the answers to.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Daryl, Jonathan, second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 500. All right, another CIP. Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve Fund. Shall the town vote to establish a fire department equipment capital reserve fund under the provisions of RSA 35:1 for the purpose of providing equipment to provide firefighting services, rescue services, medical services, and ambulance services, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $30,000 to be deposited into this fund. Further, to name the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend from said fund. Total appropriation, $30,000. Questions or anything?
Make a motion.
Second.
It's pretty self-explanatory, I think.
Yeah.
Any comments or anything? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
500. Next is the CIP voting machines. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate $6,000 for the purpose of replacing the third of the 3 voting machines used to count ballots in town, school, county, state, and federal elections? Total appropriation, $6,000.
Do we need a third machine? We're getting 2 new ones, right?
Right, we're getting 2 new ones. I know currently there's 3, right? So you have 2 new ones, and I know everything we're hearing, it takes longer, correct? To feed the ballots through.
And the new one?
And the new ones, they take long because the way the scanning and whatever it is that works.
They're required to scan and keep a picture of every single ballot. So I think it's like, was it 6 seconds a page or
Something
something
like
along
that.
those
Wow.
lines? So when we have like deliberative, not deliberative, but the town, when we have ballots that are 6 or 7 pages long, it could take considerably longer. That's what I believe the moderator's concern is.
Right.
Why I like the old machines.
Do we know what company we're going to?
Not yet. I guess it's down to 2, correct?
The state has it down to 2. They were supposed to have them certified at the end of last week. And when I talked to Mr. Harb this morning, he hadn't heard anything.
It was
As
supposed
far
to
as-
certify a year ago.
Mhm.
Yeah, because we had already had,
The money set aside.
yeah, for the 2.
He hadn't heard anything as of like 11 o'clock this morning. so.
Should we wait to vote on that one?
I mean, we can. I mean, eventually we're gonna have to get a third. It's
Well,
get it somewhere else.
right, as it stands right now, we have money that came through a warrant article last year for the machines.
Correct.
If we don't spend that money by the end of the year, that lapses and goes back into the general fund, and we can't use it. So I think we have money
We budgeted for those 2 machines.
in the budget because we didn't anticipate. Well, we only have a week left then. Right.
Correct.
So if something changes between now and January 8th, we may be able, or by the end of the year, we may be able to put a purchase order in and have,
Right. And then
Encumber those funds.
Right, encumber those funds, and that takes care of it.
right.
And then you would have money in the budget to pay for this 1 machine, and then you wouldn't need the warrant.
So is this zero taxation also?
No.
No, no.
I mean, we've got 10 days, 12 days or something to pull this off.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly wait on this one, because this would be a nice one to take off if we can.
If we can,
Granted,
yeah.
it's a little small, but it'd be.
But even if we have to, I would say fund it through the unassigned fund balance, if we can. I mean, we don't lose the money, it just goes back in the general fund.
Correct, it goes back in the general
But-
fund.
It's, I can't imagine they're gonna have to give us a yay or a nay
Yeah.
in another couple of days.
Then you get the holiday on us.
Right. And next week, nobody's gonna do anything at the State House,
Oh, I'm sure they won't.
you know? So it's, the likelihood of this going through, I mean, I agree with you. I think we hold off on this one.
Yeah, we can hold off on this one, revisit it.
We can run with 2 machines. Once the machine jams up,
Oh, I get it. But what I'm saying is, I just want to see if it's actually going to happen this year.
I understand where you're going.
Yeah, I mean, I have no issues if we, wait till the 8th,
Yeah.
see what happens.
Well, I mean, we don't even have to wait till the 8th. We can wait until the 1st. And if they haven't decided anything, then it's a mute issue.
Yeah, I mean, our next meeting will be the 8th,
Oh, okay.
unless you want to be here on the 1st.
Oh, I don't mind, as long as you've got open bar.
All right, we're all good we'll table that till the next meeting? All right, the next deposit to revaluation capital reserve fund, shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $35,000 to be deposited into the previously established reevaluation capital reserve fund. The balance, no, we don't know that. We haven't got that from the trust committee yet, so.
But we have to do it by
Yeah.
25, right?
2 years,
25,
26, isn't it?
26. The 26, Greg?
I think it's
When we have to do the
26.
revale?
Yeah, 26.
It's,
I believe so.
it's passed 3 out of the 4 times or 2 out of the 3 times we've had it on the
2 out
ballot?
of 3.
So we only have about 70,000 in there now. Because last year it didn't pass, right?
And how much does it roughly cost us to do anyway?
Around 150,000.
All right.
And we have to do it. By doing it this way, it's a little chunk each
Right.
year instead of having to throw 150,000 into the budget because it
Yeah.
has to get done.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Jay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 500. Deposit to the fire department apparatus capital reserve fund. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $210,000 to be deposited into the previously established fire department apparatus capital reserve fund, total appropriation $210,000?
Now, does that go down any now that we just received this grant?
That's a big question.
I think we need to hold off on this one.
I think
too.
you're right.
I agree.
Do you know more about it, Greg, with this? Because I mean, that was a big chunk of change we just got tonight.
That's correct. And 20 years from now, the ladder truck that we just replaced for 1.5 million is going to be 2.5 million. So $200,000 a year for, it's a matter of being fiscally, where do you want to be? The equipment is so expensive that it's setting aside money. Yes, the $1 million grant helps a lot,
Certainly
but
does.
if you look at it from that standpoint, that we're buying the ladder truck and that truck within 3 or 4 years of each other.
Right.
So 20 years from now, both of those are going to need to be replaced.
Yep.
I throw it out for consideration.
I get it. You're the only one
It's-
that'll be alive by then, so.
Hey, what about me?
You too.
I mean, it's
No,
planning.
I don't have a chance.
It's set aside for future planning.
And I agree with that, but this is a tough year.
Yes,
It
I
certainly
agree.
is.
If we could back it down a little bit and then maybe add to it as if we get a little leaner throughout if we could
I agree.
Yep.
reevaluate it by looking
Yeah.
at all the numbers that just got put in front of us.
It would, right, because obviously the money that was kind of being set aside for this vehicle, we don't have to.
Right, we still need
Purchase
to
it.
have it happen, but just
Correct.
not, I don't think.
Well,
if we could-
I
if we
think,
could
like
take
you
the
said,
Numbers down, let's look at it.
right. It's worth passing for tonight,
No, I
And just-
agree, because it'd be nice to, even if you could get it in half or something.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to table that one
Double table down.
until we get balances?
Yeah.
Well, I'd be willing to take the CIP and go talk to the fire chief.
Right, that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
See what
And
the what
see,
he thinks.
looking at the plan of maybe have Tim with me. We could go talk to him about it and see what that number might be this year, or do we need to do anything this year?
Yeah, I mean, you have to figure out what his plans are, so.
Right, but we also got to look at
No,
the
dollars,
fleet too.
We do.
But is it possible that we could trim some down or even skip it this year? I don't think we can just skip it.
Well, I'm just saying
We've taken
pass
bonds out
until we get
for-
more
No,
information.
but if you could knock it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Looking at the whole project and then coming back with a number.
Yeah.
So Greg, if you're okay with that, I can talk to him and we can try to come to another number.
Yeah, let me know if you want me to go as well. But that's the biggest one we have out of all the warrant articles, if we can do something with that. And then we have deposit to the Old Home Day Expendable Trust Fund. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,645 to be deposited into the previously established Old Home Day expendable trust fund. The sum to come from the unassigned balance and represents donations received in 2023 with no amount to be raised from taxation. Total appropriation, $2,645. Withdrawal from the general fund unassigned fund balance, $2,645. So what this basically is donations that went into Old Home Day,
Mhm.
that were earmarked for that from anyone in town. Comes to $2,645. So we'll just take that money and give it to Old Home Day to use.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Is that the actual amount, Greg, the 2645?
Yeah.
Okay.
That doesn't mean you still can't make donations. And volunteers, right, for Old Home Day?
Anyone want to volunteer for Old Home Day?
All right,
We certainly need people on Old Home Day.
right.
Yep.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
500. And then the final one, I don't know if we have the number for this, Plastow Historical Society support. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of
$8,036.
$1,036 to support the operation of the Historical Society? The Historical Society is a nonprofit 503c organization. Past practice is for nonprofits to be placed on the warrant for voters to decide. So that $8,036, that's really what they're looking for. Well, you know better than me, so they can continue to run and to fund themselves.
Continue to run the historical system.
Have they got any major expenses coming up?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But that's more to help with their bills, right?
Right. This is all just Bill.
Okay,
Because what used to happen years ago, the vendor fees from Old Home Day
right.
would go to the Historical Society. That's now changed. The vendor fees now go back to Old Home Day to use. So they don't have that, so that's what this would do to replace that.
And it was really never enough to cover the operating expenses anyway.
A lot of charitable contribution.
And you said that they're getting some painting done in windows,
That was what was on the plan.
and so we're gonna take it
for
out of the building for that.
Yeah.
That was on the plan for the CIP because it's a town building.
Okay.
Yeah, all this money is to cover their software, their interworkings. It has nothing to do with.
Preserving Plastow's history.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second by Jonathan. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed to budget tomorrow night, right? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll review these. And this is all gonna be wrapped up, Greg, by January 9th. Is that the correct date? So we'll meet on the 8th, and I'm assuming budget will be meeting on the 9th, right?
Public hearing on the budget scheduled for January 9th, right?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Can, I know it's not on your list of warrant articles, can someone inform the public what's going on with this Pride Month?
I think it,
Asked at the Pride Month meeting whether it was a warrant article or a zoning article, and the response was, we don't really know. No one seems to know anything about anything.
to be honest, it hasn't come in front of us.
Tim, do we know,
So
Tim's here, so do we know what we're doing with that? Is it going on a warrant article?
Ruling we got from NHMA was the planning board should sponsor the warrant.
Okay.
So
And they're meeting Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yeah, okay.
But with
But-
that, the planning board has to host a meeting.
There's a meeting Wednesday.
No, the public hearing.
Ryan's talking about a public hearing.
In advance, notice the meeting go out, planning board, by law, has to sponsor that.
that is not true. Conservation Commission could sponsor that public hearing.
I would say so, law.
Well, this isn't the time to go back and forth, guys. It'll be looked into, right? I mean, you can't just go one article all day without it being looked at. And I don't even think Conservation has had their meeting to decide what they're gonna give to the planning board yet. That I don't know.
We're
Maybe they have,
actually
maybe they
having one
haven't, I don't know.
Thursday.
I just know I haven't seen anything.
I believe the planning board has to vote for it. And then they have to do
Right. And it'll be looked at and we'll make sure everything is followed the way it's supposed to be followed. But like I said, we haven't seen anything on it. Nothing's come before us.
the deadline.
It is by the 9th, I believe, for articles, right? Warrant articles.
So is this something the town? What the town meeting would be into? So do I need to formal request? Do you have them do that?
Everything's reviewed. All articles will be reviewed.
I have already put in an inquiry to the town attorney to weigh in on it.
No response yet?
No.
All right, so that's it for the.
Sorry,
warrant articles. Go
what
ahead.
was, so if we're going to the budget committee
Yep.
tomorrow night for warrant articles, I have not the operating budget. I have the water department,
Correct.
contingency,
Yes,
highway department equipment expendable trust,
yes,
deposit to building expendable trust,
yes,
library,
yes,
energy,
yes,
police vehicle,
yes.
police communication,
Yeah, both of them.
discontinued police,
Which they don't need to vote on that because it's a non-monetary.
non-monetary, right, so. Fire department radio,
Yes,
fire department equipment,
yes,
reeval,
The
Yes.
reval, yes.
deposit to Old Home Day,
yes.
and historical society. What was the amount for the historical?
8036.
8036. Thank you.
Thank you. Be the warrant articles. Next, we got to approve the consent agenda. Consent agenda items, we only had three, was the accounts payable manifest for the week of December 7th, 14th, and 21st of 2023. The BOS draft minutes of November 27th, 2023, and there was one veterans tax credit application.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second by Darrell. All those in favor?
Aye.
And next up, Greg, town manager's report.
All right, just for busy with budget and the like, AT&T will be at the water tower. Just signed, consent for them to do upgrades on the equipment there, and Dish Wireless will also be starting in January, so there'll be some activity over at the water tower, which is a cell phone tower, if you will. Had water meetings last week. With the warm weather that we've had, Earth has been able to continue along with the hookups. The P4, the original P4 contract is pretty much done at this point, which is the MTBE and the like. The extended P4 contract, which includes the PFAS portion of it, is really the only portion that will be extended. So that is a good thing. So it pretty much will bring to close those contracts. Then we're looking at the end of year and negotiations and the like. So
Greg, where are we with the septic system up there?
thank you for reminding me. RFP went out and responses are due on Thursday. So come, what time, Beth? 2:00 maybe? That we should have responses to it.
Good.
So we'll be able to start to evaluate and figure out a plan on what we're going to do.
When would they look to do the work for that? Would they, probably weather, I know weather's dependent on the water.
As soon as possible, as soon as we can evaluate and we can make a determination to award.
If we keep having weather like this, it'll be all set.
I mean, it's supposed to be above freezing all the way to New Year's Eve, so keep our fingers crossed.
It's a good thing this wasn't 30 degrees colder. We'd still be shoveling out there.
Just a quick question on the P4 extended. So what does that entail?
That's the PFAS properties, so it entails any of the properties that are along the water route that are over, I believe it's the 12 parts per billion or trillion, qualify, can be a hookup into the public water supply.
Thank you.
Yes,
Is that it?
that's it.
There you go. All right, selectmen's reports.
Friday, I attended the senior tea over at the library. We had a good amount of people, I'd say at least 40. So it was well attended. And we had some carolers come and sing some Christmas tunes. And that's about it. That's all I really have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Carol?
Nothing for me.
Jay?
I'd had energy meeting last week. I can let John give the update. He's the primary. I went to that. That was interesting. We talked about the solar array. I have a budget meeting tomorrow night.
John?
So I had the energy meeting and the Waldron Group came back in and we had a conversation regarding moving that whole process forward and bringing it to the Board of Selectmen. We've pretty much as a group have agreed that it's in the best interest. Now as the selectmen, we have to then go ahead and decide if it's in the best interest. But I can't see a negative on it whatsoever. That's my personal, and that's why we have five people on the board. So that's what's going to be happening. I believe we asked to be put on January's agenda. As to my other rec commission didn't have a quorum. A couple people were sick. A couple other, we're getting into the holiday season. It's tough to get people to come to board meetings, especially when a lot of this stuff is all volunteer stuff. I mean, you've got to appreciate what these people are doing with their time. Old Home Day, I've got a meeting in January for that. And other than that, I've had communications with Historic Society, but nothing major going on.
Very good, thank you. All right, I know this week I have a planning board meeting Wednesday night. I attended the ambulance information night. I wish more people would come out to get their questions answered. There is going to be at least one more in January. I believe it's scheduled for the 16th. We'll double check. We'll get that information out there. That'll be at the library. As John said, recreation was canceled due to the quorum. I did attend the prime wetlands public hearing.
Mhm.
It was interesting because I was, eye-opening. A lot of things I really didn't know the information, so I was definitely educated that night.
Thank you for going to that for me.
No problem, but it was an education and it was eye-opening to get to listen to everybody, their concerns,
Yep.
what everyone's thinking.
That actually affects a lot of my land, but I had a fishing game meeting
Meeting
that
that
same
night,
night.
yeah. So it was well worth it. It was well attended, which was good to see. That many people come out. It'd be nice if, I hope for the ambulance, we get that many people come out for that because that is something big coming to town. And that is all I had. And I believe we have,
Tomorrow, we have a, over at the library, at, I think, what's it, 7? They're having the state is coming out.
Traffic calming.
The traffic
that's tomorrow night, the
calming.
traffic calming.
Yeah,
So that's at 7:00?
that's at 7. Isn't that tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's well worth attending because that's from the library down towards town hall, right?
Yeah,
to the railroad tracks.
Right, so that's what that would be for, and that's New Hampshire DOT's in running that, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
So that would definitely be one worth attending, because it is going to affect everyone on Main Street. Everyone who lives in town, we all use Main Street.
What time is that one?
7 o'clock, I believe.
At the library?
Isn't it 7 or is it 5:30?
I think it's at 7.
Seven.
It's in the FYI folder.
Okay.
Can we get something posted tomorrow as a reminder for everybody?
Sure, it's been posted, but we can do it again.
Just to make sure everybody knows.
What day?
Tomorrow
Tomorrow.
night.
Tuesday, December 19th at 5:30.
Oh.
It's at 5:30. Geez, good thing we didn't say 7. So that's at 5:30 at the library tomorrow night, traffic calming study from
Yep.
New Hampshire DOT at the library.
You indicated that it was, the prime wetland was eye-opening to you. In what ways was it eye-opening?
To be honest, I went into it, I didn't really have any information on it. So it's eye-opening just from that, right? All the concerns I know from all the abutters on the footage, things like that, are all things I wasn't really concerned of. Well, I'm obviously concerned of it, but I wasn't cognizant of it. I think that there's a lot to figure out with it. When I was hearing it for the first time, maybe some of the abutters, someone like yourself, I'm sure probably researched it a lot more than I did. To be honest, it doesn't affect me, but I know it affects other people.
Affects a lot of people.
Right.
And
So-
it affects me less than a lot of others.
Right. So
Potentially.
it was good to see a lot of folks there.
We had a better turnout on that meeting than a deliberative session.
I would, I'm not going to
It tells
disagree.
you something.
I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm not going to disagree
But
with that.
also unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Instead of showing up.
And I agree with that as well. But we have non-public, right, correct?
Yes.
So someone want to,
Make a motion to go into non-public for which one?
Thanks all. Thank you.
Negotiations.
What number? What letter?
which number are we? It's,
Jay? Jay?
It's gonna have to be legal.
yeah,
Go in for legal.
L.
Yeah, it's gonna have.
Yeah, I would say legal.
All right, so.
L.
So on the L, second.
L.
By Darrell, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Tammy.
Mr. Coy,
Yes.
Mr. DeRoche,
Yes.
Mr. Britton,
Yes.
Mr. Gifford,
Yes.
Ms. Bergeron.
Yes. Should we?
We gotta get Frank to shut us down.
Yep. So
Are we
we won't, after non-public, we won't be coming back. I want to wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year. And we'll close the public session at 7:29.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.